We should be live on YouTube. We should be live on YouTube. I hope I hit the right button. Give me 1 second. I'll be right back. We should be back live. I hope I hit the right one. One thumb up. I'm hoping I hit the right streaming button because if you're here, I want to make sure that we're on the right stream. I think we are on the right stream. I did hit the right one. Yeah, we're all good. We're all good. All right, everyone. I'm sorry about that. It's been a crazy day today. Just a lot going on for Don and I and our families, and you know, got the stream coming tonight that was supposed to happen last night. I'll share more about that in just a little bit here. But welcome to the show. I want to make sure that we're not on the members only live stream here. I believe we are on the stream for today. I only see 3 people here so far. So now we have 7. Now we have 6. Well, we have 10. Okay, we're good. We're on the proper live stream here. Episode number 633 of Walking with Purpose Live. Live from the SF Bay Trail at Bear Island in beautiful Redwood City, California. It's going to be a little bit of a shorter walk today. I'm only going to do 3 miles instead of 3.5. Need to get home and set up for the members only live stream happening tonight with Don and I on the couch with Don and Eli. That was supposed to happen last night. Will be happening tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. We apologize last night. Things just, there's been a lot going on, folks. I mean, life happens. And January is typically a very busy month for people. People are returning things from Christmas. We're not doing that, but we know others are. But it's a preparation month for the rest of the year. And if you took some of my advice earlier on last year in 2023, and you prepared for 2024 in advance, now you've got January to take everything you prepared for 2024 earlier last year and to start to initiate it, right? And that's what Don and I have been working on. I've got a lot of great things in the works. I've shared some of those things already regarding new websites coming and regarding, new aspects of my organization and business, the Genuine Networking Association, or GNA for short. Coach Eli is a subsidiary of the GNA. And lots of good stuff coming. Lots of good stuff coming. Cynthia, can you do me a favor? Can you let me know, are we on the proper title? This is the one regarding artificial intelligence, right? In the title, right? I want to make sure I didn't start the members only live stream because I was shuffling on my phone. Hey, Z-Prod, can you let me know if we're on the right? Cool, we're on the right stream. Okay, great. AZ Prod, welcome to the show. How you doing, man? Great to see you here. Yeah, it's 51 degrees, a little bit chilly. So I'm layered up, got my gloves on, but it's not going to rain. So it's not going to rain the next few days here. So it'll be chilly, but no rain. You're on the right one, brother. Thank you so much. Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. Well, I've got a brief show for you here today before the main event tonight. That's going to be members only. Like I just mentioned a second ago, Don and I are going to be live on the couch tonight. And we're going to be talking about getting healthy and staying healthy. Very important topic, and we're both going to share our thoughts regarding different periods of our lives where, we struggled a bit with our health and what we both did to get things back on track, start getting things back on track. And for me, I've been on track for quite some time. And for the most part, I've stayed on track. But every now and then, you have periods of times in your life where you yo-yo. And we'll share more about that tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific, live here on Coach Eli 2, Authentic Live Streams. It's members only. Please get your members only membership at the $4.99 level if you'd like to join us. There will be no live replay available publicly. It'll be members only. The replay will be available to members only if members can't make it live. So if you're concerned that you can't make it live tonight and you're going to miss the show, you can catch the replay with that same $4.99 membership. Again, these streams here that I do are members only live chats. They are publicly viewable, but only members and moderators can chat. If you're not a moderator, you will need at least a $2.99 members only live chat package to chat here. If you're going to do that, might as well pay an extra $2 and upgrade to the $4.99 level and get everything, including the live streams with Don. So that is that. All right. So let's get to today's topic. Start preparing for artificial intelligence. Sorry, can't even talk. Start preparing for artificial intelligence to take over completely. Start preparing for artificial intelligence to take over. Maybe not completely, but most things are going to be taken over by artificial intelligence. And why should you start preparing now? Well, you should have already started preparing, but most people don't even understand what artificial intelligence is. Some people do, a lot of people don't. And they don't realize how many jobs have been replaced by computers and artificial intelligence. I'm going to start off by giving you some examples, and then I've got some other stuff to talk about regarding the gig economy that ties into all of this. I've been very picky and choosy and selective with my time regarding what videos I watch, but I'm still watching some videos. I'm just only watching videos that I feel are worthy of my time, and I can add something to those videos in a productive way. But anyway, some examples of artificial intelligence taking over here in the Bay Area and in many other areas where there are toll roads. We used to have toll collectors, right? Typically, they are on bridges or other toll roads. Now, tolls have pretty much gone by way of, computer. They're electronic. Tolls have gone completely electronic here in California. We do not have any more toll takers. You cannot pay cash anymore when you cross a bridge or get on a toll road. How much money do you think that saved the transportation department, right? On average, back in the days, those toll takers were making around $20 an hour. That was back in the days, like in the 90s, they were making that amount of money. I think they were making closer to $25 or $30 an hour before they completely eliminated the toll taker. 2 or 3 years ago, I think, is when they completely eliminated it and went cashless on our bridges and toll roads. So think about it. If you had all these bridges and toll roads, and let's say you needed at least 100 employees to run them every day, right? And let's say the average person was making $20 an hour. And so $20 an hour times an 8-hour shift, $160 a day. If I did my math correctly, that's $16,000 a day in payroll, right? Times 10 days, that's $160,000. Let's just round it down to $150,000. Times 30 days a month, that's $450,000 a month. And with inflation, it was probably closer. It was probably costing taxpayers and the state transportation department about $500,000 a month to pay toll takers, right? And now it's all been completely replaced by electronic high-speed cameras and electronic toll passes known as Fast Track out here. Back east, they call it Easy Pass. Now, while this is saving our tax dollars money, it's eliminated tons of jobs, right? And that's just one example of what AI has done over the last, I'd say, 10 to 15 years, and continues to do year after year after year. So you got to prepare yourself for this. You have to understand what's happening. And you have to prepare yourself for this, especially if you're in a job that has been replaced by AI, artificial intelligence, or is going to be replaced by artificial intelligence, right? There are people that were working for Caltrans, our Department of Transportation here in California. It's a state, department of the state of California, and the California Department of Transportation. People were doing that for a long time. Some had many years before retirement, and they were forced to retire early. And I hope they took care of them. I'm sure they did, with pensions and stuff and all that good stuff, right? But when those people first came on and made this their career, they never expected technology to change at the level it has to overtake their own jobs, right? And this trend started happening probably about 15 years ago or so, 15 to almost 20 years ago. You know, Facebook and, you know, what's his name? Mark Zuckerberg has invested heavily, was an early adapter, and has played a very prominent role in furthering AI and artificial intelligence. It's helped his platform out. YouTube and Google use it on their platforms, right? Every platform has artificial intelligence. You can't run these platforms without it. It had to be created. It had to be created for these online platforms because these are global platforms that can reach the entire world, which has, what, 8 or 9 billion people? Now, Google has 2.7 billion monthly active users. That's a lot of users. Even if you have 100,000 employees running that business, you would think that's a lot, and you could do it without AI. No, you can't. People don't realize how many people there are on the platform. 2.7 billion people. That's a lot of people. You can't manage these platforms without AI. And while AI has gotten better, and it has its good aspects when it comes to certain other jobs, it eliminates those jobs because it automates them. Makes them better, makes them easier. Like, seriously, having fast track to cross the bridge, I can just zip right through the toll booth without stopping. It reads my pass. It says fast track accepted. My girlfriend Dawn just sent me a text message. She obviously is one of a few people that gets to bypass my do not disturb. Babe, are you there? I got your text messages. Nuclear heat graphics. AI is the reason I had to start door dashing. If it's not too personal, nuclear heat graphics, what were you doing before that time? Well, whatever you were doing that involved AI, you basically went to a company that is controlling customers and drivers and and restaurants that use their service by AI. DoorDash is a 100% AI company. Now, people will say, oh, there is customer service at DoorDash. When you call customer service at DoorDash, you're getting China or India. You're getting an outsourced call center. Now, no disrespect. Those people are trained to be able to do some basic things as any, other call center would do within our own country, right? But they outsource them because it's cheaper, right? Cheaper labor, right? And the majority of the company is run by AI, which makes it more profitable, right? So I get it, nuclear heat graphics. Whatever job you were doing that was primarily run by AI and you were replaced by artificial intelligence, you have now started to drive for a company that abuses artificial intelligence more than any other company I've ever seen. Tony Xu is the biggest abuser of AI because he uses it to try to manipulate drivers to take crappy orders. And if they don't, their acceptance rate will go low to the point of where you technically won't get the higher paying orders, right? I was a full-time graphics designer, but AI has really slowed down commissions for me. So are you saying that more people are designing their own graphics? Because when I used to network in the real world, nuclear heat graphics, I knew many real graphics designers like yourself. And let me tell you something. It is an art to be a graphics designer. To create business logos or, any type of design for whatever, right? Whatever you're trying to do graphic designing for, right? Even for advertising specialties and promotional products like mugs and pens and shirts and all that stuff, right? So more and more people are using the do-it-yourself tools on sites like Teespring and TeePublic, right? Practically putting guys like you out of business, right? Yeah. All right, we are back live. We're back live. Sorry, I was frozen, but I'm back. Yeah, I get what you're saying. But it's not the same. Graphic designers design way better stuff than those, built-in free programs, right? But they give you those built-in free programs because the company that's, having you sell those promotional products like Teespring or TeePublic, they don't care about the design. They care about just selling the products, right? Your design is just a reason for them to make your products and make a pretty big fat penny off of it, right? Now, I'm probably going to be using Teespring and TeePublic initially because I'm not big enough to bulk order, advertising specialties and promotional products. But here's the right way to do it. And, Don and I are going to be reinventing a business that I've been running for years, but haven't been actively promoting it for years. We're bringing it back. It's called the Genuine Networking Association Distribution. And we have access to tons of manufacturers that create advertising specialties and promotional products like t-shirts and mugs and all that stuff in bulk. You buy them in bulk, right? So you buy them in bulk to get them cheaper, but then you have to ship them out yourself, right? And you need to submit a design to these companies to put on those products. And that's where a graphics designer came into play when I used to do this in person years ago. That's the right way to do it. It's a more efficient way to do it. If you're a business looking to get your name out there, or if you're looking to sell stuff, you can buy it cheaper in bulk through these manufacturers and use a graphics designer to get a great logo done. And then you make more profits. So if you through Teespring, I was saying this the other day, if you buy a mug on Teespring for $25, Teespring gets like 20 of it, and you as a creator get $5. Whereas if you buy the mugs in bulk, the more you buy, the cheaper the per mug price. You can get these mugs probably as cheap as $4 or $5 a mug. Let's say you're getting a mug for $5, right? And you still charge 25 of it, 25, right? And let's say at a bulk rate, it costs you $5 to ship it, right? $5 for the mug, $5 to ship. You charge $25. Now you're making $15 as a creator doing it that way, instead of making $5 doing it the per sale way, creating your own logo on sites like Teespring and TeePublic, etc. And I forgot one thing. Most graphics designers are going to charge anywhere from $300 to $500 for a fairly simple or average logo, right? Maybe more, right? But once you have that logo made, you can reproduce it as many times as you want. What I also tell people is that If you're going to use a graphics designer, you have to make sure that they relinquish the rights of their design to you. Because a lot of graphics designers will try to claim intellectual property on products they sell to you. Did you ever have a problem with intellectual property claims as a graphics designer? Nuclear Heat Graphics, would you relinquish all intellectual property rights to the person paying you for the design? That became their intellectual property, not yours, right? I've seen graphics designers over the last 10 to 20 years try to claim intellectual property rights to designs they sold to other people. And I just thought that was pretty shady, in my opinion. AI can't replace the human touch when it comes to art, music, etc. Use Printful, it's much better than Teespring, etc. Okay. I'll definitely check it out because that's part of the next plan. Don and I are going to be creating some merch. Are you still doing graphics designing on the side? And if so, I'll check out your channel and then I'll email you, because at some point down the road, I'm going to need a graphics designer for where I'm taking my organization, the January Networking Association, later on this year and next year. And you seem like a pretty decent person. And I appreciate your feedback and your honesty, man. I really do. Yeah, I still do it part-time. I'll email you some of my work. Sounds good, dude. Sounds good. Yeah, because let me tell you this, dude. At some point, my whole vision is a lot bigger than the Coach Eli coaching thing. Yes, I'm still going to do the coaching thing, but my whole vision of the parent company here of Coach Eli, the Coach Eli brand, the January Networking Association, or GNA for short, is to go more the nonprofit route to help people with online bullying and harassment, and to help men that are struggling with their masculinity in the modern world through these websites like modernmanresources.org and .com, like I have. I'm in progress of getting those URLs that I purchased years ago activated through my web hosting provider and getting secured socket layers, SSL, which is HTTPS, a secured site. I'm in progress of setting all that up this week. So I'm going to be looking for some people to be a part of the executive team of the organization. And you will get paid. You will get paid a fair wage. Nonprofit organizations still pay decent money. The only difference between a nonprofit organization and a for-profit organization is the tax status. That's it. It's a business that's tax exempt because it's a cost-based business that's there to best benefit the general public. You're basically doing God's work for the government, so the government doesn't have to do it. That's what basically gives you a tax exemption status. So that's what the future holds. Let me see here. Yeah, it's another job that was replaced by AI, graphics designers. I know many graphics designers that have gone a different route because of the same things you're dealing with. But I think there's still a need for graphics designers. But I think the niche market for a graphics designer now are larger scale businesses that can afford to pay a graphics designer a good amount of money to make constant designs for the business, right? The average everyday consumer pretty much does it on their own. For me, I would prefer to use a graphics designer, even to this day. But right now, it's not in my budget. But when it is in my budget, I do want to use one. And I appreciate you for letting us know, Nuclear Heat Graphics. Letting us know what you do. We've got 20 people here. We've got 3 thumbs up. Please smash the thumbs up and please share this out. It would be greatly appreciated. We're just going to go to the end right there, right before the trail curves to go to the observation deck. I don't have time to do the whole thing. So let's talk about some other things involving AI, and that is the gig economy DoorDash. The gig economy has been a huge topic for me, even though I no longer drive it. I only drove it for 3.5 months because I just needed some extra money to help my girlfriend move in with me. It was extra money that neither one of us had because, we both already have our regular bills, and the area where we live in, the San Francisco Bay Area, is already 3 times more expensive than most other areas in the U.S. So, we were tapped out, and we did what we had to do. I did the DoorDash thing and Uber Eats food delivery for 3.5 months, almost 4 months. And I learned a lot about the business. And because I was already a YouTuber for several years, I started following the gig economy content, and I just started to really see the ins and outs of these companies. And, I don't believe every single thing that every creator has said to be gospel. I don't. There are some creators out here, I'll share some of those today, some of those stories today. There are some creators out here that go a little overboard and let their emotions run a little more than they should. And I'm not going to crucify them or blame them because, I've been doing this thing on YouTube for 6 months now, pretty much full-time, semi-full-time, however you want to say it. And I made those same mistakes. I let my emotions get the best of me out here, and it took quite some time for me to be able to work through it and relinquish some of the scrutiny that came along with losing my emotional self-control, my emotional shit early on, 5-6 years ago when I first started doing this semi-full-time. But I was watching a couple of videos, and it's okay. I'll mention whose videos they are. One of them was Pedro Santiago, Pedro DoorDash Santiago. Put out a video. It was yesterday's Motivational Wednesday video. He was talking about, Joe Biden is, I mentioned a little bit about this yesterday on the walk, but I'll recap. He was talking about Joe Biden, trying to pass a bill or trying to put a bill on the ballot, regarding better gig workers' rights, to get better wages and, more protection for gig workers. And a lot of the people that were in Pedro's chat and responded to this community poll where he asked the question of, what are your thoughts regarding this? A lot of them were just not happy, right? And a lot of them were very confused. And even Pedro, I'll tell you, Pedro, listen, I'm not trying to smack talk you again. I am not interested in any lolcow content with you on your other channel with Hannibal. I think there's a lot of value we can help people with at a more serious business level. I know you don't see me in that way, but that's fine. I'll just respond to the stuff you were saying because you're talking about taxes regarding a DoorDash and Uber Eats driver. You're talking about most people don't pay their taxes. And you sounded very, very confused. I hadn't heard the whole stream when I started talking about it yesterday, but I heard most of the rest of it today. And I have more to add to it. Like we can't be confusing people regarding this stuff. Taxes are not something to fuck with. You don't mess with Uncle Sam here in the U.S., or you don't mess with whoever your version of Uncle Sam is in your country, right? A lot of people are upset because they're saying, well, now we have to pay taxes. Excuse me, you weren't paying taxes before? Just because you're an independent contractor doesn't mean you're not subject to taxes. You are. You just pay them at the end of the year, or you can pay them quarterly. But that was not mentioned. That was not mentioned, which makes me wonder, are you paying your taxes properly paid? I don't care. Listen, I'm not here to report anyone to the IRS. I really don't care what other people do. I care about what I do, my family does, I care about people in general, but honestly, I'm not going to lose sleep over other people that aren't paying their taxes. Uncle Sam will take care of you at some point, right? But what needed to be mentioned on that stream was that DoorDash employees in the U.S. are 1099 independent contractors. And if you're in a different country, it's similar. You're an independent contractor. Whatever the independent contractor document is in your country, that's how your taxes are reported to the tax reporting authority in your country. Here in the U.S., it's called the IRS, which stands for Internal Revenue Service, IRS, right? Run by the federal government, right? And then you have state taxes too. So you're responsible for state and federal taxes. State taxes are in the state where you live. Federal taxes are through the IRS, right? And DoorDash and Uber, unless you make, I believe, under $600, I think it's $600, which is the maximum before they have to report your income to the IRS. If you make, I believe, over $600, I have to look at the exact amount, but it's somewhere around there. Then DoorDash and any of these other gig apps are required by law to send you a 1099 and at the same time report that 1099 miscellaneous income to the Internal Revenue Service here in the U.S. Okay? And I believe, every state has access to that as well, because basically whatever you make, you're subject to both federal and state taxes. If people are upset that they now have to pay taxes as a main reason regarding possibly becoming an employee of these companies, regarding possibly becoming an employee of these companies, if Joe Biden's bill means for it to go that way and it passes, if that's what you're complaining for, then you guys deserve to be fined or to go to jail, or a combination of both, for not paying your taxes. You should be ashamed of yourself. Everyone pays taxes, whether you're self-employed or you work for somebody else. And DoorDash sends you all that information Why do you think they ask you for your social security number? If you didn't have to pay taxes, then why would they ask you for your social? You morons? Unbelievable. Unfreaking believable, man. I'm not trying to criticize you, Pedro. I can actually help you. Now, I'm not going to push it. I'm not going to reach out to you. I'm just saying. You have some people that you're leading there, and I don't think you really know 100% of what you're talking about. I think you know a lot, but I think if you collaborated with the right help, you can get your people the right information and spare them some future heartaches. Do you know if the IRS audits you and they found that you didn't file your taxes, you're going to have to pay those back taxes and pay penalties. And if it's 5 or 10 years of doing this, you know how much money you're going to owe the IRS or the state or both? Now, you can make settlements with the IRS in these situations, but you're still going to probably owe about a third or a half of your back taxes. But you're not going to get away working an independent contract job and not having to pay any taxes, for Christ's sake. That's the way it came off on Pedro's show. If you have any questions regarding being an independent contractor, okay? If you have any questions regarding whether you feel you need to file taxes or not, you can email me and I'll give you some basic advice. And I'll point you in the right direction through email of what you need to do. I'm not an accountant. I'm not a CPA, right? I'm not an expert on tax laws. I've just been running my own business for over 15 years. And I've also been an independent contractor many times. Even when I used to sell insurance, I was an independent contractor for the broker I was selling for. I didn't own the business. I basically resold their products. I was an independent contractor, and I primarily worked from home and on the road. They would send me a 1099 every year, and every year I'd file my taxes. I still do, with whatever income I make here. Every piece of income that you make needs to be reported to the IRS and the state. You can use TurboTax to do it. You can use H&R Block. If you're self-employed and you have W-2s and 1099s to do, you can do TurboTax self-employment, which allows you to file both W-2s and 1099s. Now, if you're in a different country, the forms are going to be different, but the concept is more than likely the same. So, you got to understand how taxes work. And you can read up on tax laws for every type of business that you have. There have been limits. Actually, there have been there have always been minimum limits that you have to reach before taxes are reported to the IRS. And a common question I've always received is, let's say that you made $300 from DoorDash do you still need to report that? Even though DoorDash is not going to submit you a 1099 and they're not going to report that to the IRS. Now, technically, you're supposed to submit anything you make, even a penny, right? I would suggest submitting that, even if you didn't get a W-2. You can submit that under miscellaneous income when you file your taxes. Under miscellaneous income, you could say DoorDash $300, right? You still need to submit your taxes for whatever you make. Yes, technically, if it's not reported, there's no way to prove it, but I would not take any chances when it comes to taxes. And from everyone that I've heard and talked to, you should still report any amount of money you make. And that's the end of that right there. Another thing that Pedro mentioned, where could this DoorDash thing be going regarding Biden's new plan that he's proposing for better, gig worker rights, which may possibly make gig workers employees with benefits and all that and other protections, right? Pedro was saying, well, what if we make it more of a franchise model where one person is able to run an entire, geographic area, or in this case, it would probably be not a hotspot, but it would be a, like in my area, they call them zones on DoorDash. My zone was Redwood City, San Mateo. Basically from San Mateo, which is 3 cities north of me, San Mateo, Foster City, Belmont, San Carlos, and Redwood City were all part of the same zone. So in that case, if that model were to be an option, like Pedro was saying, where one person can come in and buy a franchise from DoorDash and basically be the owner / franchisee manager of that territory, right? And they would do all the hiring and firing, and they would provide vehicles for you or whatever. That would be an option. But is that a feasible option? I don't know what it is, but I'm smelling like there's a fire somewhere. I don't know. Maybe it's some homes that are lighting their chimneys and it's just carrying out here. I don't know. Hey, there's a geese family out there. We're at 48 minutes. Take off the glasses for right now, or just take them off for the rest of the walk. It's the husband and the wife. Let's see if I can pinch zoom in. Let me see here. It's hard to pinch zoom with the touch gloves, but I'm doing it. All right. Yeah, the YouTube app is fairly decent. You can do some decent things with it. You can use the front and back camera while you're live. You can use the flash on the front for more lighting when it gets dark on the front camera. You can pinch zoom. You can add an external mic. It's pretty basic, but it's a pretty decent basic app, I have to say. I don't think a franchise model would be feasible. The only way it would be feasible is if that one owner took on all the liability, the franchisee took on all the liability, paid for the commercial policy, paid for the vehicles to either be rented or buy vehicles for the drivers to use, or like Pedro said on his show, pay them mileage like we get here in California for Prop 22. But let me tell you this, even getting mileage here in California, I think, what is it now, 42 cents a mile or something like that, if I remember correctly. It's something like that. That's still not a lot of money for the expenses you're going to incur. You're going to need new brakes, new tires. You're going to need spark plugs. Timing belt may go out at some point, right? Transmission, whatever, right? This is the thing. In my opinion, this business is not a profitable business model for a franchisee the way it's going. Now, if DoorDash was going to pay more out in base pay, or, just, pay out more of the 30% they're getting from most retailers, anywhere from 15 to 30% is what retailers pay per order to be on DoorDash, right? And out of that, drivers will get their base pay, right? And then the rest goes to DoorDash, right? So if a retailer has a 30% top-notch contract with DoorDash, which most of them do because that's the way you get the most business and the most exposure on their app, for every $100 from that retailer, they get $30, right? Now, if DoorDash were to say, look, okay, we'll take 10% out of that 30%, right? We'll take 10% out of that 30%. 10% we can give to, the person running the business, running the what do you call it? The franchise in that particular zone. The other 10% should go to drivers as base pay. So instead of getting like $2 an order, base pay should be back to $5 or $6 an order. The only way that you're going to make DoorDash feasible and be able to hire employees or be able to run a franchise, like Pedro was saying, is if Tony Hsiu and his greedy executive friends, Tony Hsiu is greedy too, if they basically cap their earnings by 2/3. You've got to take 2/3 of everything that's made off the restaurants and put that back into the business, and maybe take 1/3 for the corporate headquarters and for the executives. I don't see it feasible any other way. That's the truth of the matter. There's no other way it's going to work. Right now, Tony Hsiu and company, they're completely running their business of AI, and they're counting their millions. And they are trying to keep this thing going as long as possible before the government forces them to make the drivers employees instead of contractors. The moment that the government forces DoorDash to make drivers, and this would also happen for other gig companies like Uber and stuff, but I use DoorDash as the main example because they're the biggest culprit here, right? The moment the government forces them to make drivers employees is the moment that Tony Hsiu and his other executive friends, their profits, the money that they make at the top as executives goes down by 67%. There's no other feasible way of running an employee model at DoorDash in the way that Tony Hsiu and his executives are getting paid right now. They're getting paid a ton of money. And they're giving up $2 per order. And if you have stacked orders, that counts as one order now, meaning that $1 per order as base pay. So if you get 2 orders at once and you accept them as a stacked order, that's a $2 base pay, $1 base pay on each, making it even worse. So there you have it regarding the the Pedro stream and what's going to happen to DoorDash and the mass confusion that I feel Pedro brought amongst his audience regarding taxes. That's a serious subject. You can't butcher that. You can't butcher a serious topic like taxes. You got to speak on that with more confidence, bro. I don't think during the entire stream he once mentioned that we are 1099 independent contractors. And that leads me to believe that maybe you haven't paid taxes. And then, listen, if you haven't paid taxes, Pedro, for your gig work, that's on you. I'm not going to be calling the IRS and turning you in. I'm not that kind of person. All I'm saying is that I cannot believe how vague you were and how uncertain you came off on that stream. That goes to show how much more vulnerable and not knowledgeable your own audience is, and they're looking up to you as the Messiah of all this, and you don't even know. Anyway, I wish them all the best. There's nothing I can do. If they want to listen to him, he wasn't telling them to not file taxes, but he was very vague about it. But nobody's sitting there calling him out. No one's sitting there calling him out when he should be called out. Not because I don't want to attack the guy. It's not about attacking the guy. It's about protecting the people that are hearing a message that's very confusing and could screw up their lives financially. Now, last but not least, another DoorDash story. This ties into the AI-driven world here. Someone I used to participate with, a couple people I used to participate with. Still like these guys, but they don't want to talk with me at this point. Whatever, it's all good. Not a big deal. I still have love. Glitch Dash. I saw Glitch Dash do a reaction video to... Glitch Dash is a, gig economy content creator out here that I met about 6 months ago. I think he's actually a pretty good guy. And he was doing a reaction video that a guy by the name of Welte was doing. And Welte was doing a reaction video to another person that I respect and care for. His name is Brian. He's run channels that were once called DoorDash Sucks. He changed the name. Can't remember what the changed name is. He also runs Gig Apps Exposed, and he also runs DoorDash Gig Economy Police. And Welte, a younger guy, was saying that, he was playing clips of what Brian was saying. Brian was saying, I'm going to send you my PayPal, and if you don't send me $3,000, I'm going to sue you. And then Welte goes, well, that's blackmail, dude. And, technically, if you want to look at it, it's blackmail. But honestly, how much of this YouTube stuff do you take serious? First of all, Brian's not going to sue you. Second of all, Brian was having an emotional reaction. Brian was completely wrong there. I love Brian, but he was completely wrong there, right? The point I'm trying to make here is that you have a lot of confused people that are very unhappy about the economy, especially the gig economy, and they're coming out here to YouTube for guidance. AZ Prod, that was one of the funniest things I ever heard. I couldn't stop laughing. Oh, did you hear that? You must watch the same stuff I do, AZ Prod. Were you watching that reaction video by Glitch Dash? Like, I love Brian, but, you know, there are times where Brian lets his emotions get to him, and he says some things that make him look really bad. So the problem is not Welte. The problem is not even Pedro Santiago. Yes, some of these creators were the problem because they were misguiding and misleading their audience back in the days when they were saying acceptance rate matters, so you got to take trashy orders to raise your acceptance rate above 50 or 70% to get higher paying orders, right? When they themselves were using a glitch to artificially get their acceptance rate up there, and they never took one bad order. It was hypocritical. We've already solved that problem. We've already called these people out, and that's all been said and done. But ever since that point, there hasn't been one single aspect to better gig workers' rights. It's all been about trash talking other YouTubers, right? And this is not about trash talking other YouTubers in the same space, right? This is about working together as a collaborative force to figure out a way for gig workers to have better rights, or to figure out, hey, what's the next move for people if this whole gig economy collapses, or if it goes by way of W-2 employment, right? No, I just remember when Brian originally said it at the beginning of Glitchgate. He must have said it recently. Either that, or Welte is going back. Is Welte just going back many months and doing reaction videos to content that was made several months ago? I'm not a fan of AKA you let. Oh yeah, sorry, dude. Isn't it pronounced Welte though? I used to call him Ulet, and it's Welte, right? Some of these creators out here have the strangest names, man. We're at 63 minutes. That's not too bad. Yes, LOL, says AC Prod. Come on, dude, you're confusing me, dude. But the reason why Brian's upset, and why a lot of these creators are upset, is because of artificial intelligence taking over the world and screwing us. That's all this boils down to. Yes, there was a point in time where the content creators were misleading and misguiding other drivers. We've already solved that issue, don't you think, AZ Prod? I will watch it again to get a good laugh. Wonderful. We now need to focus more on figuring out laws that will provide better than fair wages for gig workers. Now, there's a guy driving here. He has an Uber light on the front of his car. So he was probably either just dropping somebody off or going to work. I want to see where these people are going, because if they're coming... Okay, they're going into the complex. Okay. So, like I said, we need to focus on getting better than fair wages for the workers and creating more laws regarding, artificial intelligence. What can artificial intelligence be used for, and what can it not be used for, right? Should we be able to allow artificial intelligence to manipulate people to get them to do things that they normally wouldn't do in the real world? Like DoorDash, when I would sit in the parking lot at my hotspot when I was working it last year, I would sit there and see these offers. And for example, you get one good offer stacked on top of a crappy offer, right? For example, you get this $15, Chipotle order, right? To go 3 miles. And then for an additional 3 miles, add this order here. Or actually, what they would do is they would combine them together. They would combine Chipotle and, let's say, Wingstop for $20 to go like 6 miles, right? Now, depending on the mileage, in most cases I would take that order, even though I knew one of them more than likely was a $5 crappy non-tipping order. But if DoorDash offered those orders as individual orders, one would have been $15, the other would have been $5, right? Would you take a $5 order to go 3 miles? I wouldn't. Or even 4 miles. No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't even do it for 2 miles. Now, if it was really slow at times, if it was 1 mile or less, I might take a $5 or $6 order. Because at that point, you're looking at $5, $6 a mile. It's still a crappy no tipping order. But you get what I'm saying, right? The AI has been very manipulative. We got to focus more on getting better rights for the drivers or gig workers in general, regardless of whatever type of gig work you do through an app, right? That involves artificial intelligence. And we also need stronger laws against artificial intelligence, and we need people at the government. We need government level programmers that understand these AI programs to the point of where they could step in and find these companies and force them to change their code if they're violating laws, right? Apparently, Wealthy is doing gambling content now. Wow. Is he still monetized? He's doing gambling content. Well, good for him. More power to you, man. That says a lot right there. Hey, this gig thing is not happening anymore, right? There aren't any more views here. This has been played out, right? Anyway, got to run, folks. We are at 69 minutes, an hour and 9 minutes, almost an hour and 10 minutes. Coming up tonight at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern. Once again, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific, right here on Coach Eli 2. Authentic live streams, the most positive place on the internet. Don and I live on the couch with Don and Eli live. We're going to be talking about getting healthy and staying healthy. It's a members-only stream. You must have a members-only package of at least $4.99. See you later, brother. Are you going to be there, AZ Prod? If you can't make it, no problem, bro. But yeah, we are doing it tonight. Sorry we couldn't do it last night. It got too crazy. I got to run home. Don and I are going to have a quick snack, do the show, set it up, do the show, and then have our dinner afterwards. But get your membership package of $4.99 and join us tonight right here on Coach Eli 2. It's going to be a great show. Thank you, AZ Prod. Much love. With that being said, have a good one. Take care. And as always, be good to each other.